Hey everyone, welcome back to Lifestyle Locker Radio. I'm Dr. Josh Hand. This is episode 175. I'm recording this from Utah. I'm at the outskirts of Salt Lake City at the base of Mount Olympus, sitting in my friend's backyard and staring at how beautiful this place is. I'm with their two dogs, Canyon and Cedar. We're just chilling. Both Scott and my friend Amy are at work, and we'll be back shortly. So figured I'd get a good recording in. This is going to be a two-part episode. We're going to talk about this week. You know, I had a 20-mile run last Saturday, and I have my travel this week to do some skiing. But fortunately or unfortunately, I have a really cool challenge. I'm sitting in the backyard now, and it is a whopping almost 50 degrees at 7:45 in the morning. So it's supposed to be almost 65 today, and I don't know if we're going to go skiing today. I probably don't think we are. We're going to do some hiking, try to get some good vertical gain, have some fun, have some exercise, and share stories. Scott and I haven't hung out with each other in quite some time. So if you hear some crazy barking in the background during this live podcast here that I'm recording in the backyard, it's my friend's dogs, Canyon and Cedar. They're having a good time in the backyard. You know, I get to babysit them for a few minutes. They're cute and crazy. So that's it. So here we go. The episode's going to be two parts. Enjoy. All right, so here is part one of the show, the 20-mile race. The Naked Bavarian in Pennsylvania I did this past weekend. It was shocking. It was a challenge. It was good. It was bad. It was great. It was all things. And what I found, you know, my preparation may not have been the best. You know, in recovery mode, there are things that are challenging. One thing is headspace. You know, where's my head out post injury is going to determine a lot of things, as well as one thing that I didn't really take into account, but I was paying attention a little bit. My race weight for my 100-mile attempt in October was I think just 178 to be very specific, just shy of 180 pounds. I'm about 6'2", so it was a really great race weight for me. During this race, you know, my race weight pre-race for this event was, I think, 194, give or take, close to 200 pounds, and that's a lot more weight to move around. So I have that put into the mix. I did build a lot of strength. I've been doing a lot of what we call instability or stability exercises, practicing on things that are unstable as far as foam cushions and Bosu balls and balance work, because I want to help build the strength around my legs, around my knees and my ankles, the things that usually get abused in trail running or have the most, they're like the most common things that can get injured, right? Because we're stepping on rocks and roots and all sorts of things. So I did a lot of balance work, and I can let all of you know about that. If you have any questions on what I'm doing, I'm glad to share. So, and I've also done a lot about building quad, calf, and hamstring strength, and hips and glutes and all of these things, doing a lot of this balance work. And one of my favorite exercises that I do is with a barbell, and I do walking lunges. So I take anywhere from 95 to 135 pounds, and I'll do walking lunges for almost 30 yards. So about 90 feet, however many I get in. So we're close. I do anywhere between 20 to 25 lunges in one direction. Then I'll make a U-turn. I have a turf at my gym, which is really cool. I turn around, that barbell's on my shoulder. Now I press it up over my head. When I press it over my head, now I'm stabilizing the balance muscles of my shoulder and everything. And I did mention the dogs barking, so you may hear some of that going on. And what happens is I balance this and I walk that same distance back. So the lead up to the race was quite interesting. I was 194 pounds. I've done a lot of the stability exercises. I'm a lot stronger. And on all my trail runs, the best part of my rehabilitation and prehab is that I noticed that downhills where the injury would be the most impactful or most noticeable, like it would really hurt, as most people that run downhill on trails and or street, downhill is the worst because it jacks up your quads, your knees get the most strain on them, and I've been feeling really, really, really good on downhills, and I have felt great. So had to get up at the butt crack of dawn. I had to get up at just, I think, about 3:15-ish or 3 o'clock in the morning to get on the road. The race was 2.5 hours away, and we've had some nice warmer weather recently in New York. So I'm like, great, it'll be good. But what happened? We decided to get a little cold snap. So the race temperature to start was somewhere around, we'll say, give or take 10 degrees, 9 degrees, 10 degrees. Wind chill, was definitely single digits. It may have been 15 or something, but it was really, really cold. And I did make some mistakes when I got there, 2.5 hours in. I didn't really eat, which is not a mistake. That's how I normally tend to like to race without too much fuel in my system right away. I like to use yesterday's fuel. And it's cold. So I'm there waiting for my buddy Tom to show up, another chiropractor. We're running this race together. And I'm looking at everybody, how they're dressed. I see people in t-shirts and shorts. Granted, I'm wearing like a heavy duty down coat and fleece pants, and I'm just trying to stay warm as I can be. And I decided that, you know what? I'll probably warm up. So I had my jacket. I kept my upper body and core mostly warm, we'll say. And I decided to just wear like tights and shorts over my tights versus my winter layer of tights that goes over my regular tights, which are windproof on the front and breathable in the back, which is how I've been training. So the crazy thing is I let other people's decisions on clothing influence my decision on what I was going to wear, which is not good. I think we need to, as runners, as humans, we need to make our own decisions. And especially in a situation like this where your body, you're putting and stressing your body out, you ultimately want to be in the best place you can be to succeed. And if I'm basing my, clothing is important, right? Gear is important. It's not the defining factor, but if it's really cold and you're making a decision on how you're going to stay warm based on how other people are dressing, that's a problem. And I did that. So I made a big mistake. So we get into the run, the race starts, we do a very little warm up and get right into the race. I figured the first couple miles would be a warm up, and the first 3 miles were terrible. I just wanted to quit. I felt like crap, in my head, I'm thinking, oh my God, is this going to be just like a rail trail? I didn't look at the course map to know what was going to go on. It wasn't a crazy amount of elevation by the time we ended. It was just about 2,200 or 2,300 feet, something like that. But what happened is I'm thinking it's going to be flat, mostly flat with some light hills in it. And yeah, it was nice and easy and comfy. After the 3rd mile, I settled in and felt really good. My headspace was really positive until we hit our first, climb, which was a walk. Like we had to walk up these hills. And I was like, holy cow, nice and challenging. All right, no big deal. So we go up and I had to run down some downhills and I felt good. The downhills felt good. I'm like, yes, yes, yes. Like I get energized when my legs and my body feels good moving the way I want them to without feeling discomfort or pain. So that was quite awesome. So going through the next, like we'll say up to mile about 15, I hadn't had anything to eat, but I was feeling really good. And I said, I better get something to eat. The next aid station was getting really cold because we were running around a lake in Pennsylvania, and I thought it would be getting warmer during the day, but it was actually getting cooler, which was not good. So my legs were getting colder. My upper body, my hands were getting colder, even though I was wearing gloves. And yeah, it was a challenge. So I get to the aid station at mile 16, and they have some warm food, they have the junk food, the stuff that I stay away from. And I probably made the worst decision I could possibly make for me, and I did it based on warmth because I had a couple warm things there, and I didn't want macaroni and cheese. So I did the next worst thing. I did a quarter of a grilled cheese sandwich. And I know the two things that my body usually doesn't process well is processed grain and at least like GMO processed grain, which this probably was, and dairy. I know knowing if they're making grilled cheese is probably the worst type of cheese as well. So I downed that and, within minutes after my run, my stomach was blah. And I'm like, I have 4 miles left. And I feel like garbage. I feel like crap. I ended up having to walk a lot at the end. I was frozen, uncomfortable. Now my stomach was hurting me, so I had to slow down my speed. And when I slowed down my speed, catch 22, I got even colder because I don't have any thing to protect me from the warmth except for speed and running, keep my muscles warm. So I ended up getting to the end of the race. I ran the end, and holy cow, it sucked. It was brutal. The last 4 miles again for me were like my first 3. They were just not good. But in between was good. So my lesson learned is that I need to not look and assume that other people are doing the right thing for me. They're doing the right thing for them. And maybe they're not even doing that. But I had to make my decisions for me. It's easier, I can tell you, as a runner in the cold weather to be warmer and to shed a layer than it would be to add a layer when you're running, especially when you don't have an option to add a layer. So always be prepared. That's the first thing. Do the right thing for yourself, not for other people when it comes to running. Like, don't use their choices, use your own choices. And secondly, know what food works for you. I did my energy bits. I did my, which are the spirulina and chlorella, which are my go-to, which I felt good. So I did 16 miles on an empty stomach. I'm lying a little bit, like a little white lie here. I did have my bulletproof coffee, and I did also have about a quarter cup of organic blueberries on my drive down. So I had that at about 5 a.m. or something like that. But we know that that's not going to be some amazing amount of fuel for me. So decisions on your food and fuel are important. Decisions on your gear and clothing are important, especially in cold weather and warm weather, vice versa. So make sure you're making the right choices for yourself, and keep your headspace in the right place. Especially if you've been injured before running, it's easy to get your mental capacity into a rut because you're thinking to yourself, oh, is this going to happen again? And it doesn't need to. If you train and you train your mind, so not only your body, your mind needs to be trained for this. So go out, go get strong, go get well and healthy, and perform and get the gear and do all the things you know you need to do to run, because you should make it fun. You should make it challenging. It shouldn't be something that should be easy for you, and it should be something that you ultimately want to